everyone, welcome back to another What's Hot in Makeup Mondays with Sham's Makeup Artistry. And in today's video, I'm actually going to share with you my thoughts and my opinion on the Becca x Chrissy Teigen Glow Face palette. Yes, you guys probably already know that this palette has been hyped everywhere, so I definitely wanted to share with you guys my thoughts on them. So I did pick up mine. So this is how the packaging looks like. It's a pretty shiny and very nice packaging, I would say. I kind of really like the packaging. It's more in like a rose gold shade. At the back of the packaging, it's written in silver writing which says #Becca x Chrissy, and then it says, remember to smile, laugh a lot and treasure every moment of endless summer with the Glow Face palette, created in collaboration with the model, mom, cookbook author and ultimate California cool beauty, Chrissy Teigen. Chrissy is our all-time favorite #girl crush. She captures the essence of what Becca stands for: effortless, natural, authentic beauty. Together, we have cooked up the most beautiful face palette for warm, lush, sultry shades, all handpicked by Chrissy. The possibilities are endless. Go from natural, fresh, beach glow to a glowing goddess all in one palette. So it does features a shimmering skin perfector, pressed highlighter in new Beach Nectar. Rose Gold is their permanent addition of highlighter. The new Sunlit Bronzer in Malibu Soleil. And then it says new luminous blush in Hibiscus Bloom. So I'm actually wearing all of them over my cheek area today except the Rose Gold highlighter. So this particular palette retails at $46 and it's available at Sephora, as well as it's also available at Ulta Beauty. So let's take a look at the palette itself. I do have it in front of me. So this is how the palette itself looks like. So I do have like a live demo of myself applying the shades over my face area and then sharing my thoughts with you. So before that, we're going to take a look at the palette before we get into the demo. So this is how the palette looks like. I really like this particular palette comparing to their other collab, like with the one with Jaclyn Hill. So this is the one with Jaclyn Hill and this is the one with Chrissy. So I kind of like this one comparing to this palette, though the quality of it is exactly the same. And in the front it says love Chrissy Becca. And then on the inside, there are 4 colors. It does come with a decent size of mirror. And it comes with a plastic cover. There was also another plastic cover on the outside, which I removed it. And then on the inside, these are all the shades. So the very first one here is Rose Gold. This is their blusher in Hibiscus Bloom, which I'm actually wearing on my cheek area. And then this is their bronzer. I'm also wearing their bronzer. I do own their bronzer in Sunlit in the shade Maui, and I really like that one as well. This one is a very nice shade if you like something like very light-handed on everyday basis. It gives you a very natural glow to the cheek. And then this is their highlighter, which I'm actually wearing over my face area today, like my cheek area, my nose area, and even my cupid's bow. So I'm going to do the demo for you guys, and then during the demo I'll be sharing my thoughts, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to share with you guys my final thought on it, what I personally think, and comparing it with some other palettes that I already own from Becca. So I'm actually going to test out this particular palette. So I'm just going to pick out the shades, some of the shades that are in here. So the very first one is the bronzer shade, which is in Malibu Soleil. Hopefully I'm pronouncing the words correctly. So I'm using my NARS Eater brush, just dabbing it on the brush. So this is kind of light on my skin because I kind of got the deepest one, like their individual one, in the shade Maui Nights, not Maui, Maui. So I'm doing it likewise on this side as well. So it does show on my skin, but not very heavy, like not really prominent on my skin. I'm doing a little bit more just for it to show up. A little bit on my forehead. But the formula does feel pretty same. But I do like that it's showing up on my skin. It doesn't feel dirty or muddy. And the quality is not pretty bad at all. So now I'm going to apply the blusher, which is right here in the shade Hibiscus Bloom. So I'm using my brush to apply my blusher. Just packing on the brush. Second layer of the blush, and then let's move on to this side. It does show up pretty beautifully on the cheek area. I was thinking that this might not really show up on my skin tone, but they are showing up really beautifully. You can see it does show up on my skin. It kind of reminds me of the Jaclyn Hill's palette, which I will be doing a comparison. So I'm actually going to use the limited edition highlighter, which is Beach Nectar, because this one is their permanent shade, which is in rose gold. So I'm just going to dab my brush on the Beach Nectar highlight, step off the excess. It is well pigmented. I don't see them being chalky, but I kind of feel like they're very soft instead of like being chalky. You can see the highlighter on my face area, a little bit on my nose. So just going to bring the highlighter over my brow bone area, just slightly. So this is how they have blended in my skin. I kind of felt that the blusher kind of a little bit disappeared. Just going to apply a little bit more on my cheek area. So now that you guys have already seen all the demo and all the rambles during my demo, what I was doing throughout my demo, let's now get into the conclusion of this particular palette. I personally do like this palette. I don't have any complaints with the texture, with the packaging, with the pricing, or anything like that. I do really like how this palette came about. Of course, I would have preferred if there was another new highlighter shade which they could have included in the palette, but all we know is Chrissy does love the shade rose gold. That's why they actually included the shade in this particular palette. So let's come back to the shades in this particular palette. This is their rose gold highlighter. I do have like a single one of it, which is kind of similar, so you would not want to see it like in a comparison. When it comes to the blush in Hibiscus Bloom, I was kind of curious because it looks very similar to the Jaclyn Hill palette that Becca did collaboration earlier, which is this one right here. So this one right here is in the shade Pample Mousse, which kind of reminded me that it looks very similar, and I did do a swatch of them. I'm just trying to pick up both of them. When you look at one glance this way, it doesn't really show that it's exactly similar. The Hibiscus Bloom, of course, looks much more intense. So I'm just going to do a swatch for you guys at the back of my hands so you can see the similarity in them. I personally don't mind that, but I hoped that it could have been a little bit different because they do swatch pretty similar, if you guys can see. So that was the only thing that I personally thought. And this blusher, comparing it to the Jaclyn Hill's version, the Hibiscus Bloom glides on even more smooth. Like it wears even more smooth on the cheek, and it kind of like has like its own glow to it. And the one in Jaclyn Hill's palette, it's kind of like more matte, then it has some shine to it. because the other one in the palette does have like some shimmery sheen to it. So that's the only thing that I personally felt. There were no other similarities that I found in the Jaclyn Hill collaboration palette except for the blush. So I was just thinking if the blush could have been a little bit more different. Like the texture is of course different, but they tend to swatch very similar. Like they might look very similar over the cheek area. And then when it comes to the bronzer, I was kind of like worried whether it will show up on my deeper skin tone, but it does show up on my skin tone. So I'm kind of like happy because it does show up on my skin tone. Being a deeper skin tone girl, I actually got myself the full pan of Sunlit bronzer in the shade Maui. This one is like even more deeper, and I kind of really like this one, which I really like using it even as a blusher. But this one wears so beautifully, and it has its own natural kind of glow to it. When you apply it on the cheek area, it doesn't go like matte and looking muddy over your cheek, but it gives a very nice glow. So that's why I kind of felt like this one would really look nice during the summer weather. And I really like the highlighter that is in this palette. It's of course like a peachy pink kind of highlighter that I'm wearing on my cheek area, but it's a really beautiful highlighter. I've read many people saying that this might not suit fairer skin tone girls. I personally felt, why not? I kind of feel that this would suit any skin tone depending on how you tend to wear them on your cheek area. So overall, this palette is a nice palette to have. But my only thought was, this rose gold shade, if you have them in a single form, you might not use this, or you might not open up your single one again, which I've not used it for some time now. And then when it comes to the blusher, it's very similar to the Jaclyn Hill one. I'll probably be using this one more than this one because when it comes to travel, this is much more handier. This is a little bit bulkier, so I might be finishing this one first comparing to the Jaclyn Hill one. And then when it comes to the bronzer, of course you can use it on everyday basis, no complaints on that. And then the highlighter, no complaints as well. So you probably would love to use this palette because of these two products on the below, which is their bronzer and their highlighter. When it comes to the other two products, you may want to switch it. So for me, it will be a question whether or not you would want to pick it up. If you tend to have the Jaclyn Hill palette, you may want to skip it because just for the bronzer or highlighter, which they might come with a full version later on, you won't be surprised, just like the Champagne Pop, like just my prediction. Because when it came to Champagne Pop, they did make one just like separately for the highlighters. So I kind of feel like maybe for Chrissy as well, they might do the same later on. So for me, I kind of feel like it's kind of like a miss or hit. Though I do like this particular palette, it would be a kind of miss or hit for some of you who kind of feel that many of the shades are similar to the Jaclyn Hill one, unless you don't have them. So my overall thoughts are, if you don't have like a single pan of the rose gold highlighter, and then you don't own the Jaclyn Hill palette, and you don't own any of the single bronzers, you may be wanting to pick this up. But if you have most of them, like you do have the Jaclyn Hill palette, and then you do have in a single form of bronzer, you may want to skip it unless you really want to have this beautiful highlighter. So I do hope that I did not confuse you guys too much whether or not to pick up the Becca X Chrissy's Face palette. To my very next one, stay beautiful both inside and out. Give me a thumbs up, share all your love and support, and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye.